I, for one, could discuss all 17 books, beginning with what I thought was your masterwork, The Mezzanine, the very first book. But there are so many candidates for your masterwork, including this latest one, Baseless, because reading it during the pandemic, I think, was a completely different experience for me than it would have been without the pandemic. I could have felt like I was reading a history of something weird and not that old, but old enough to have nothing to do with my daily life now. But what you discovered in that book is that laboratories have been working with and playing around with vaccines for good purposes and for some terrible purposes in the past. And the notion that things have escaped from laboratories involuntarily is something that we've seen before. And then brings us up to last summer and last winter, where you started contemplating the lab leak theory, as others were, and now the president wants investigated. How have you seen this discussion evolve on the lab leak theory in the last few months?
It was a fascinating process to write a book that was really about things going wrong in American laboratories, scientists who were trying to weaponize various diseases a long, long time ago, back when the United States had a very active biological weapons program, and to try to tell that story and then to be involved in this situation where anybody who raised the possibility that something could have gone wrong in a laboratory on a Tuesday afternoon somewhere, maybe in China, maybe in Wuhan, was a conspiracy theorist. It just was there was a complete kind of cognitive dissonance for me in having looked at the history of laboratory experiments with very risky diseases and seen that scientists get sick of the diseases they're studying, and then to see people saying that you couldn't possibly even raise this idea without becoming some kind of a crazy, wacky Trumper who has, spreading fake news. So it was a weird, weird year.
So your 10-year quest to find out exactly what we were doing with germ warfare research and possibly even using it in the Korean War ends, I think, in what a courtroom would call kind of a hung jury. It ends without the absolute conclusive proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And that proof, by the way, as you point out in the book, may be being blocked. The Freedom of Information Act may not be able to get us to the documents that could tell us that truth. And so we have a government that is holding back documents, holding them back against you and your research on its own history of labs of this sort doing research for good and for bad. And I'm wondering if we could get 10 years out from now, and you could be on this case for 10 years, and others and scientists and intelligence agencies could be on this case for the next 10 years and not be able to tell us 10 years from now, was it a lab accident? Was it a naturally evolved vaccine, virus?
Of course, I would hope that we would know, because there's a kind of there's a terrible, foggy, messy feeling when a terrible disaster has happened and you don't know why. So everybody would like to know how this disease arose. And I think that there's a lot that can be found out, even if the Chinese government is understandably very, very sensitive about any sort of scrutiny of their high containment laboratories. Even so, there is a lot that we can look at around the edges. And that's what I found with my own research with long ago diseases and weapons programs, is that even though you might not have the central document, you have scientists and correspondents that can tell you a lot of things and give you a lot to think about. So I absolutely think we will know more if the Biden administration really takes seriously the idea of an investigation. They don't have to press China. They don't have to wait till China responds. They can simply start looking at the correspondence between American funding agencies like the National Institutes of Health, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency of the Department of Defense, USAID. All these agencies gave money to Chinese scientists to study bat diseases and human diseases and the interplay between the two of them. So we can just simply read that correspondence and move forward. There's no need to threaten the Chinese with sanctions or anything like that. We could just look at what the grants asked for and what the grant reports said, and we will move forward. We will learn more.
This kind of research on viruses and seeing what's involved in making those viruses more potent, this was considered positive and useful research by scientific communities around the world, including in the United States. But there was also another group of scientists who looked at this research over time and said, you know, we understand why you want to do it. We understand what the benefits of this research can be. We get that. We do, however, find it too risky. And we find the chances of a leak from a lab somewhere, whether it be China or in some other country, not worth, those risks are not worth the benefits, they thought, as they looked at this. So there was a divide in the scientific community in the world about not the value of the research. Everyone agreed on the value of the research. It was the risk. It was the question of, was the risk worth it?
Yes, and this really came to a head in 2011 and 2012 when a scientist in the Netherlands convinced a disease to jump from one organism to another organism by passaging. And this American scientists, for instance, a guy named Mark Lipsitch at Harvard and David Relman and Stanford said, this is nuts. You're taking a disease and you're making it worse, and you're making it more likely to infect human beings through a respiratory route. And so there was this phrase that grew up over the past 8 years, 10 years, which is gain of function research. And the gain of function that they're talking about very specifically is to enhance the transmissibility and pathogenicity of a disease through the human breathing apparatus or a mammalian breathing apparatus. So that's what we're talking about is it a good idea to do that, not because you want to kill people, but because you want to prove that a certain virus could, with a few mutations, infect human beings. So it was preventive medicine, but it was preventive medicine that was taking this enormous risk. At least that was what these scientists said. And there were 150 of them, I think, who said, don't make diseases worse. And so the Obama administration said, okay, we'll look at that. And they paused the funding of gain of function research, except that some of it was grandfathered in, unfortunately. And then it was resumed in the Trump administration by the NIH and went forward. It is now being funded again. So a lot of people said that's a bad idea. The mechanisms of the risk-reward studies have not been done. And I think that some people thought in their secret recesses of their mind, was this gigantic sort of meta experiment something that led to this disease? We can do crazy, risky things. No, we can't.